Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
I have to speak in English, I think. Yeah. So, text 9, 6th canto.
Du vil tale på engelsk? Yes.
Yeah.
Det må også godt.
Yeah. I think I'll speak in English for the best course of all.
Of human society.
Yeah. I'll say the Sanskrit and then the translation. Sri Rajavacha Drishta Shrutabhyam Yat Papam Janan Atmano Hitam Karoti Bhuyo Vivashaha Prayashchitam Ato Katam. Sri Rajavacha
Sri Rajavacha.
Parikshit Maharaj replied.
Parikshit Maharaj replied.
Drishta. By seeing.
Shrutabhyam.
Also by hearing. From the scriptures or law books. Yat. Since. Papam. Sinful criminal action. Janan. Knowing. Api. Although. Atmanaha. Of his self. Ahitam. Injurious. Karate. He acts. Bhuyaha. Again and again. Vivarshaha. Unable to control himself. Prayashchitam. Atonement. Ato. Therefore. Katam. What is the value of? Maharaj Parikshit said, one may know that sinful activity is injurious for him because he actually sees that the criminal is punished by the government and rebuked by people in general, and because he hears from scriptures and learned scholars that one is thrown into hellish conditions in the next life for committing sinful acts. Nevertheless, in spite of such knowledge, one is forced to commit sins again and again, even after performing acts of atonement. Therefore, what is the value of such atonement? Purport. In some religious sects, a sinful man goes to a priest to confess his sinful acts and pay a fine, but then again commits the same sins and returns to confess them again. This is the practice of a professional sinner. Parikshit Maharaj's observations indicate that even 5,000 years ago, it was the practice of criminals to atone for their crimes, but then commit the same crimes again, as if forced to do so. Therefore, owing to his practical experience, Parikshit Maharaj saw that the process of repeatedly sinning and atoning is pointless. Regardless of how many times he is punished, one who is attached to sense enjoyment will commit sinful acts again and again until he is trained to refrain from enjoying his senses. The word vivasha is used herein, indicating that even one who does not want to commit sinful acts will be forced to do so by habit. Parikshit Maharaj therefore considered the process of atonement to have little value for saving one from sinful acts. In the following verse, he further explains his rejection of this process. Om Agyanatimira Andhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Shakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyascha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We take the verse again. Maharaj Parikshit said, one may know that sinful activity is injurious for him because he actually sees that the criminal is punished by the government and rebuked by people in general, and because he hears from scriptures and learned scholars that one is thrown into hellish conditions in the next life for committing sinful acts. Nevertheless, in spite of such knowledge, one is forced to commit sins again and again, even after performing acts of atonement. Therefore, what is the value of such atonement? This draws a parallel to not only, one can say, the explicit sinful activity as stated here, but there is some similar verse also which says also that even after seeing and hearing about the spiritual reality, that we are spirits, we are not a body, we belong to the spiritual world. What is happening in the material world is an illusion created by the three modes of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And it is actually just like phantasmagoria, which is just flickering in front of our eyes and actually has no tangible reality. All these informations are there in the Vedic scriptures, and for a thoughtful person, it is definitely a revealed truth. So one can understand also that fact, but still, as it said also there, drishta shrutavyam, that even after seeing this, also in factual life, one can see that actually whatever is happening here is temporary, and actually it doesn't have very much value. It may have some temporary value, but actually we also very quickly forget. Things are very valuable here and now. Like, take for example, so the urges of the body is very valuable here and now, but later on we forget them. At the moment they're there, it's like really, really important. But then it's not something we really talk about later. It was not really that important. And Prabhu says, oh, it's the same thing even on a bigger scale with all these big leaders and the big wars and everything. We just, after some years, it will just be some small notes on the list in the notebook of all these kings and so on. Then actually people do not really remember it. It doesn't have really any significance for us here and now. Apart from maybe a very few people who stand out in history like this with some teachings, but generally it's all forgotten by the tide of time. But still, even after seeing this and after hearing it, still we very easily become attracted by the activities in the material world, and we forget everything about Krishna and the importance of spiritual culture. So what is the cause of this, and what does it means to actually get out of that attraction to the illusion? We've seen here that after doing the blunder of getting into the illusion and doing sinful activities in the material world, then we can do something called atonement. That's also austerities. One may, for example, it said, actually that's one of the things applicable to today's calendar day called Ekadashi. It's the 11th day in every month. A day which is very beneficial for pious activities. By doing pious activities on this day, Ekadashi, one is simultaneously getting rid of sinful reactions. So it can be very well used for this process of atonement. Like a practical thing, also it gives pious credit. Yeah, I mean it enhances one's chances for getting better situated in material life, and also for the next life to get to the heavenly planets. Apart from that, ecology also has the unique significance that it is, if performed properly, it will make one better devotee of Lord Krishna. So this day is actually said to be the most auspicious day of all the days we have Ekadashi. So and a practical thing, for example, sometimes we have some Hindu visitors and they want to donate something on this specific day of Ekadashi instead of any other day. So usually the requirement for Ekadashi is fasting to get the required benefits for the day. It's one book called Ekadashi Mahatmya, which is explaining the glories of the different kinds of Ekadashis. They have different names, like today's name is Kamika Ekadashi, so we can look up in that book and see what kind of activities do I need to do this day to atone for my sinful acts, and also get pious credits so that I may become better off both materially and also spiritually. But usually in all the Ekadashi it involves fasting, and minimum every Ekadashi one has to fast from eating meat, and also don't take any intoxications, not engage in any gross material activities like gambling and all these things, and also of course no sex life, and one is recommended, one is requested also that one should hear and speak about Lord Krishna or Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of God. One should hear and speak about him on this specific day. That should be one's absorption. So for those who are really serious on Ekadashi, who really wants to have a benefit, one is not eating even grains and beans, legumes. For those who are really strict, they are minimizing even that. They don't eat anything but fruits and maybe some milk. And for those who really want full benefit, they fast the whole day. Maybe take some water. And even for those who want even more benefit, they just fast the whole day without even taking water. That's called Nirjala Ekadashi. The impersonalists, they also use this Ekadashi. I experienced that. I was in India some years ago, and I was going with Russian devotees to this. They have this temple in Surat, outside Ahmedabad. Some Hindu group called Swaminarayan. The Swaminarayan people, they have a great complex there, and Russian devotees, they went there because they wanted to get some inspiration for building their temple in Russia. So there I heard that these Mayavadis there, they're actually really strict. They follow the Ekadashi. Nirjal, every single Ekadashi, 2 times a month there is Ekadashi. So they don't drink and they don't eat nothing the whole day, 2 times a month. So they're really strict. Probably he wasn't so strict with us because we have the fully personal path. For the personalists, there has to be some extra struggle with controlling the senses and doing austerities. That's their process. But Krishna says that for one who fully surrenders to the Bhakti Yoga process, we don't need to do that heavy austerities. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said the minimum for Ekadashi. He said we should not eat grains and beans. He instructed his mother. So we just follow that, and we don't get into it anymore than that, because actually karma, it's a little bit of the karma kanda thing, the Ekadashi, otherwise, because it promises elevation to heavenly planet and to get free of your sinful activity, sinful reactions and so on. As we learn here also, this is not really our focus to get free from even sinful reactions, because automatically, by taking to devotional service to Krishna, pure devotional service, Keshit Kevalaya Bhaktya, Vasudeva Parayana, fully devoted to Vasudeva, that is the form of Lord Krishna. Agam Dunvanti Karchnyena, all the Agaham, all the sinful reactions, they're being fully destroyed. Karchnyena, and Prabhu writes very interestingly in parentheses, in the word for word, he says completely, and then in parentheses, with no chance that the sinful activities will again revive. So that means it has to be pure devotional service, because you may have experienced that sometimes we have been very serious in chanting the whole name, but still some sinful activities is left in our life. So that means we have to continue being serious in devotional service and become more serious, in other words. The process is compared to as the sun. When the sun is up, then the fog is going away. Niharam iva bhaskaram. Bhaskara means the sun. The shining of the sun is just like the shining of, just like the fog. By the presence of the sun is removed. Nihara means the fog. So, in Kechit, it means that anybody can do this. It's not just like a special high person born in a high family. Like some people in India, they call the smarta Brahmins. They think that only they are actually eligible for coming back to Krishna and the spiritual world because they're born in a high class family. But those who wasn't born in a high class family, who didn't get the initiation and these things. In other words, people like us, we don't have any chance. We have to use this life, do as much pious activity as we can in this life, and in the next life, if we're born in a high-class Brahmin family, then we can. But actually, Prabhu has rebuked this. It's not true, and there's many quotations which is based, which Prabhu is relating to in that connection. For example, there is one by Devahuti in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where she says that for one person, he says, this is really wonderful, this chanting of the whole name. Because just by chanting Gariyam, just by chanting the whole name of the Lord, then automatically one will then be considered to have performed all kinds of pious activities, all kinds of atonements and yagyas, and also to have a pious birth as a Brahmin. All that is surpassed. It's not even necessary to have all these things. That has just been chanting the whole names of the Lord. It's amazing how potent the whole names of the Lord are. So much so that it is the only way for attaining full freedom from sinful reactions and become a fully Krishna conscious person. Actually, that is the meaning of being free from sinful reactions. Otherwise, there is no full freedom from sinful reactions. And that is also the consideration we will come to, because what is the reason for sin? That is the question. You have your hand up? Yeah.
Doesn't Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, he asks what makes a man commit sinful activities even though he knows it's wrong?
Yeah.
Krishna answers that it is lust only.
It is lust only, yeah. So you say now that the reason for the sin is the lust. So what is the reason of the lust? Is that, and the next question. It's like we don't explain. We have to we are very thorough in our philosophy. Yeah.
First contemplating on the sense object, and from that attachment develops, and from attachment lust develops.
John. Okay. But still we go further on. We're not like the materialistic scientists who just say it was a big bang. No, we want to know the whole story. Okay, you always ask what was before the Big Bang problem. Who started the Big Bang? So okay, what is before the meditating on objects of the senses? Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada mentions that it's the propensity to enjoy, which is there in the soul, like which. Oh, he mentions it in the connection. If one doesn't curb this propensity to enjoy the senses, then it will happen again.
Yeah, Krishna mentioned what is a cure, and that is curbing
No, I mean
activities
in
of
the
senses.
purport,
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada, he explains it.
Yeah, and Krishna also explains this after talking about the reason for sinful activity. It is lust only, and by contemplating the senses, one gets involved in that. But how to deal with it? Then Krishna says that tasmat indriyani prajahati hiyanam samyamya. Yeah. So tasmat indriyani samyaya. One has to control the senses. Yama means to control. It's actually interesting because Yama Raj, that means also the controlling deity. Yama means it's one of the limbs in yoga also. It means to control. Yeah.
But I guess what you wanted to come to by mentioning this, or like the root of everything, is the false ego.
It's a false ego. Okay, but let's see how we can connect that then, because now we're talking that one has to control the senses, because the senses, as Prabhupada says, they are the outlets of the lust. If I didn't have senses, then the lust wouldn't be manifest like this. So that's why it said that you have a child and he seems to be very innocent. But as Prabhupada explains, the sins or the seeds of lust is inside the subtle body of the living entity. So Prabhupada says, in due course of time, when the child is growing up, the sinful propensities will manifest like this through the senses. So if the senses are not there, then one can say the lust is not manifest. So how then to get so first one has to control the senses. And how do one control the senses? Well, it is by the practice of Krishna consciousness, to use the senses in the proper way. That is the thing. So it means. And what is the first sense to control? Yeah.
The mind.
I mean.
Tongue.
Yeah. Bjarka was also saying.
Well, I would say the tongue.
The tongue. Yeah. What is the reference to that? That the tongue is the first one, and the mind also seems to be right, but at least the verse I heard says the tongue. It says jiva ado. Ado means in the very beginning, one has to control the tongue. And how does one control the tongue? Yeah.
By vibrating the Mahamantra and by taking Krishna Prasad.
Yes. And then, by this action, one is able to control all the other senses, Prabhupada says. And also the other way around, if one is not able to control the tongue, one's eating process and one's speaking process, one is not able to control the other senses. This is confirmed by Vamanadev. He has some teachings to us who try to be brahmacharis. He says that first one has to control one's the greed which is in the senses. One should brahmachari, he shows by his personal example. Brahmachari should be satisfied with what? The minimum necessities of life. What is Balmaraj example of that? Yeah.
It's just because 3 steps to
lay 3 steps. Down. 3 steps of land. It was eliminated here by Smita Krishna Swami one day, I think a year ago or something. He was here and he said that brahmachari has to be satisfied with 3 steps of land. This is shown by the example of Balmaraj. Because and these 3 steps are our 3 steps are not like the 3 steps of Balmaraj, of Vamanadev, because Vamanadev, when he took 3 steps, he covered the whole universe. Actually with 2 steps, and then with his 3rd step, he stepped on the head of Balmaraj, and also he also took him as his property. But we are not like we will imitate Balmaraj by our 3 steps. And then Smita Krishna Swami illuminated the meaning of that for us practically. It is that when we take 3 steps, it will cover exactly the length where we can roll out our bedding. Like brahmacharis, they have this our bedding, we roll it around like this, and when we roll it out, that's actually the only space a brahmachari is supposed to demand, the space to lay down and sleep at night. Otherwise, you don't have any space. So, and then Smita Krishna Swami very nicely said that if we're not satisfied with that, then we maybe have to change the ashram to Grihastha ashram. Brahmacharya has to be satisfied with minimum, very, very minimum. Of course, we will not usually be so to say, treated like that. I mean, we are giving more space than that usually, and all more, we're given a proper sense gratification. It's not like we are starving or not having space. We have the whole big temple here, and we can sit in the rooms. But when the going gets tough, so to say, when things get tough, and Brahmacharya may be tested that he will actually have to be satisfied by this. One of the tests is going to India to test one's satisfaction with minimum comforts. And there it is actually literally like that. One has to be satisfied with just the place where you can roll out your mat and sit. I tried it to be in an ashram a temple in India, Brahmacharya ashram, and you don't have more space than that. It's a fact. So then you mentioned the false ego. So how do we get to that from where we are now? If one is controlling the senses, living a life in austerity. Now Brahmacharya is not only meant for those in the order of living in the temple like that. Actually Prabhu says also Grihastha is Brahmacharya. He says this in the Bhagavad Gita. Because Grihastha also only have sex life for getting children inside the marriage and not for any other purpose. So there is actually no question of sex life also for Grihastha. Only for the purpose of getting children, and then Prabhupada prescribed the process of chanting, I think it was 50 rounds of the Hare Krishna mantra before that. So practically it means that the same, one doesn't really have it, just like the Brahmacharya. So then, before, what is then the false ego coming into the picture? By being Brahmacharya? Is one controlling the false ego? No? Yeah?
The propensity to think that we are the enjoyer.
Yeah? You want to say something?
Did you ask what controls the false ego or what comes before?
No, because Oscar Prabhu said the false ego should be curbed, not just the senses.
No, I mean, what I meant to say is the false ego is the root. Like you mentioned, we don't say that, or the senses say Big Bang was there.
Yeah.
But before the lust and all this, there's a false ego.
Yeah.
Daneshwara Prabhu, when he was here, he made a very nice analogy that we see a nice big chair with a sign on it called the enjoyer, and we tend to want to climb that chair and be the enjoyer. So that is the false ego. But if we put Krishna on the chair and make Krishna the enjoyer and just try to please Krishna, then that is real ego, because our nature is to serve Krishna.
Yeah. So the thing is, you need to serve Krishna. That will curb the false ego, not just being Brahmacharya. That's very clearly said, because even in persons they can be very nice Brahmacharya, but still they're not really the false ego, because they will again have to take rebirth. Only thing which is saving us from rebirth is becoming a devotee of Krishna, Rishikena, Rishikesha Sevanam. So Rishikena means the senses. By the senses, we are serving Rishikesha, the proprietor of the senses. Rishika Isha, the lord of the senses. That's the only way. How can this be? Well, because the force is not just there in the senses, so to speak. The force is just, one has to be active. So even if one is like living a fully spiritual life, even fully Brahmacharya and controlling the sense like this, activity has to be there. So one has to be active on one plane here. So one can't just be totally withdraw the senses from all activity. Because it's said